Good evening, everyone. We're just going to give a little bit more time, maybe two more minutes for a few more people to come into the room, and then we will start. But we thank everyone for being here. And just for the ones who are here now, this session is being recorded for future use and reference for everyone participating. And I will repeat that again when we start in about 2 minutes. Thanks.
Magnetic imaging from one of our new satellites. You know what this is, right? Our an ecosystem is fast.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, thank you again for coming to Rank the Vote New York City Voter Education Workshop. We are here this evening, and I'm going to introduce our very lovely special guest and facilitator, Miss Nicole Yearwood, who happens to be a very good friend of mine. She is amazing, and I was very excited when she said that she would facilitate this workshop. So let me give you a little bit of information about my dear friend, Miss Nicole. Miss Nicole has been involved in government and community relations professionally since 2000, when she began working for her local county executive. Her activism, however, has began years before in the early 90s as a sophomore in college, when the New York State governor threatened to cut funding to the tuition assistance program, which we know as TAP, not long after she was of voting age. Nicole understood how elected officials have an impact on our daily existence in ways which were not aware. Nicole has trained hundreds of volunteers, and she is a major resource for her colleagues and community stakeholders. And the subject of working with elected officials over the years, she has developed many strategic relationships. Nicole has always been civic minded and is involved in several organizations in serving her community, alma mater, and the city of New York. She truly believes that civic participation empowers communities and is inspired by John F. Kennedy's quote, "One person can make a difference and everyone should try." And ladies and gentlemen, I also would like to thank my sorority, Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated, and our brothers, Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity, Also, our community partners, brand elevations, can't be silenced, Beyond the Vote, and Miss BAP Inc. Um, um, because once we get the workshop started, I didn't want to miss anyone in thanking them for helping us make this event possible. Also, um, just a reminder for those who just joined us, this session will be recorded so we can use it as future reference. And if there's anyone in the audience that would like a copy of it so they can use it as reference to go over the notes again, just shoot us an email and we will be able to share it with you. Right now, with no further ado, Ms. Nicole Yearwood.
Hello and good evening. Thank you to the ladies of Delta Mu Zeta and the men of Epsilon Sigma chapter, the blue and white family. I hail from the Crimson and Cream family of Delta Sigma Theta. So I just want to thank you, New York Alumni chapter. I love it when our D9 members are out in front in sharing information, especially social action information that is so important to our communities. So before I begin, I'm actually going to drop a link in the chat. And this link is actually to a mock election. You're going to, when you click on the link in the chat, all you need to do, it's going to prompt you to create a username or insert your email address. You can input any series of characters you like, doesn't have to be your real information, hit submit, and then you will have access to a mock election for Women's History Month. It's the most influential women. And so you're going to have to rank up to 5, with the one in your first column being your most favorite to the 5th column being your least favorite candidate. So please vote, and we're going to revert to these results during the presentation. And with that, I'm going to share my screen. And you all should see my presentation, Ranked Choice Voting NYC Voter Training. In addition, let me just also add, I am a consultant for Rank the Vote NYC, and some of you may also be familiar with me from the work that I do with the 2020 census, and I'm still working with the decennial census as well. So if you have any questions about that, we can talk about that another time. But today we're going to discuss ranked choice voting. So just a recap on the local elections and how we got here. So in 2009, there was a very expensive runoff election for public advocate and comptroller, but that very expensive election also had a very low turnout. And because of that, in 2010, the council member at the time, Gail Brewer, now Manhattan Borough President, introduced the first ranked choice voting bill in the city council. In 2010 and 2018, the Charter Revision Commissions looked at the merits of RCV and decided they needed a little more time to make a decision. But in 2019, the New York City Charter Revision Commission voted 14-1 to place ranked choice voting to a referendum to the public. And in November 2019, on our general election ballot, ballot proposal number 1 was regarding ranked choice voting, and it received approximately 73% of the vote in favor of ranked choice voting. And at that time of the election, they said ranked choice voting would begin in 2021, and now we are here. So why are we here? So in 2021, basically our city government is about to turn over. We're going to have 35 of 51 council members be replaced, most of our borough presidents, as well as our comptroller, public advocate, and mayor. And when there's a turnover like this and open seats in our government, there's always a wealth of candidates. In addition, New York City is unique because we have a fantastic campaign finance system that allows candidates to receive matching funds 6-to-1 or 8-to-1. And so this actually opens up the field of candidates to even more people under this system. In addition, in the previous system, someone was elected, you would be elected with a plurality, basically meaning whoever received the most votes will win the election. But when you have races where there are 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 candidates in a particular race, someone could win with about 20% of the vote. But what that also means is if someone wins with 20% of the vote, 80% of the voters in that particular district actually chose someone else.
Hmm.
So what is changing? As of right now, local primary and special elections for the offices of city council, borough president, public advocate, comptroller, and mayor are now ranked choice voting elections. Now, I don't know if any of you live in Queens or in the Bronx, but you may have participated in some recent special elections that were ranked choice voting for some city council seats, 2 in Queens and 2 in the Bronx. Under ranked choice voting, something else we need to remember is that now runoff elections are completely eliminated. So there will be no more runoffs if candidates, don't receive a certain threshold, which is how we operated in the past. But now candidates, to be declared the winner, need to have a majority of the vote or more than 50% of the vote. And voters will be able to rank up to 5 candidates, including a write-in. So when is primary election day? The primary is going to take place June 22nd. As you probably all know, polls will be open from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. The last day to register to vote is May 28th. If you want to change your address and you're already registered, the last day to do that is June 2nd. And of course, early voting begins 10 days before election day. So early voting will run from Saturday, June 12th until Sunday, June 20th. Now, what is ranked choice voting? So you see here on the side, I have a diagram of a ballot, and next to it on the left side is saying what it is. So ranked choice voting, you get to rank up to 5 candidates. Now, your first choice candidate, that is your favorite candidate. Your first choice candidate is the candidate that you love. This candidate is the one whose policy agenda, whose ideals, whose stances on issues align closest with yours. You're going to not, you may even, tell your friends and family to vote for them. You may even contribute to their campaign. That is your first choice candidate. And so if you look at the right of the screen, you will see here the first choice candidate in this sample is candidate letter C. So this is your first choice candidate. So always when you look at your ballot, and we're going to have one that's closer to ours a little later in the presentation, but you always want to make sure in your first choice column. And you see here, there's also room for a write-in candidate. So if no one is your favorite candidate and you want to write them in, you would put that in the write-in box, you write their name in, and then you would shade in the oval that corresponds to their name. Now, the second choice candidate, this is your backup candidate. If anything happened to your first choice candidate, this person also aligns with your policy beliefs, agenda, stances on issues. You don't like them as much as the first, but you like them too. And as you can see on this ballot in the second choice column, this person has indicated that candidate B. So in the second choice column, that corresponds with candidate B, they've shaded in that oval. Your third and fourth choice candidates are someone, again, who may align with you politically, but that candidate, you just don't like them as much as you like the first and the second, but they're okay. And so you see they're identified here by candidate E being the third choice and candidate D being the fourth choice. And so you can see here in the third choice column, they have shaded in candidate E, fourth choice column, candidate D, and the fifth choice, candidate A. And this is the candidate where you may not love them, they're not your favorite, but you know what? You still know your district will be well represented in the race. Okay, so. Hold on, let me get the video here. Let me pause for a second. There's a video that I'd like to show you.
Hi, I'm Olivia Owl. Changes are coming to the way we vote. With the new ranked choice voting, the next time you vote, instead of choosing just one candidate, you can rank them all from your first choice to your last. Here's how it works. Let's say these 5 candidates all run for mayor of Animal Town. This voter ranks Lucinda as her top choice for mayor. She also ranks her second choice Diego, third choice Betty, fourth choice Roberto, and fifth choice Felix. If Lucinda wins more than 50% of all the first-ranked votes, then she's the new mayor. However, if no candidate gets more than 50%, then the least popular candidate is eliminated. Sorry, Felix. The remaining second-ranked votes from Felix's voters are redistributed. So, if a number of Felix's voters rank Betty and Diego, then those 2 candidates receive additional votes. The new totals are counted and the process repeats until one candidate earns more than 50% of the total votes. Congrats, Diego, you're the new mayor. Back in the real world, before it's time to vote, visit votedifferentsantafe.com for more information.
So this is from our friends in Santa Fe. And now we're gonna go to the election results. So you should see the results coming up. We're repopulating just to make sure we have everyone's results here. So we have 369 votes, 185 are required to win. So this is how ranked choice voting works. You see here, 185 votes are needed because 369 divided by 2 plus 1 gets us to 185 votes. Now, we've done here, round 1 of counting reflects all of the first choice votes. So what this is all of the first choice votes of the voters have been counted. And we see here, Shirley Chisholm is in the lead with 132 votes. Mary J. Blige is in last place with 4 votes. So no one has a majority. So this will be a ranked choice voting election. So now we will go to rounds. What that means is Mary J. Blige having 4 votes puts her in last place. Mary J. Blige is now going to be eliminated, and the 4 votes that Mary J. Blige has will be redistributed based on how these 4 people voted. So if you recall, when I showed you, and I'm just going to go back here, when I showed you here, this slide, when you see here who they picked the first choice, and then there's a second choice B, this is what this reflects here. So however these 4 people voted in the election, their votes are going to go to those other candidates. And so we'll see that now. So now Mary J. Blige votes will be distributed. Still, no one has the 185 votes required. Bella Abzug is in last place. Bella Abzug will now be eliminated, and those 8 votes will be redistributed based on how the voters who voted for Bella Abzug selected their next choice. And this is going to keep happening until someone reaches the 185 votes required. So we see now Cardi B is in last place. Marsha P. Johnson is now in last place. The votes are redistributed. Sonia Sotomayor is in last place. Votes will now be redistributed again. Madam C.J. Walker is in last place. Her 29 votes will be redistributed. Letitia James in last place with 36 votes. Her votes will be redistributed. And now Eleanor Roosevelt is in last place with 48 votes. Her votes will be redistributed. And so now we have Shirley Chisholm with 200 votes, Ruth Bader Ginsburg with 161 votes. Shirley Chisholm is the winner of the race. So now this is more like what our ballot will look like. Now we have a lot more candidates, you know, running for mayor, running for comptroller, running for public advocate. But what they're going to do is work hard to put all of the ranked choice voting elections on the same sheet so that people understand these are ranked choice voting races. Now, the other thing is for those of you who live in Manhattan, if you live in Harlem, we actually have a district attorney's race that is not ranked choice. So that's going to also be important to remember. But the one thing, the key thing to look for here is whenever you see these first through fifth options, right here, this is a ranked choice voting election, which means you have the 5 options. So here we have mayor. And so for instance, let's say Emerson was my first choice vote for mayor. Emerson is my favorite candidate or my cousin, whatever the case may be. And I say, I'm going to vote for Emerson Brooks. I'm going to go in this first choice column and I'm going to shade in the oval that corresponds next with Emerson Brooks's name here. And so I would shade in this oval here. And then let's say Suzu was my second choice. I would then go to Suzu's name. I'm in the second choice column here. I'm going to shade in this oval right here. Right? And then let's say I say Jess is my third choice. So now in the third choice column here, I'm going to look for Jess's name in the third choice column. I'm going to shade in the oval here and so on. And so we'll see public advocate, council member, comptroller. You'll do the same things. Now, counting all rounds are going to happen after all the ballots are counted. So we won't know if an election is going to go into rounds until all of the ballots are counted. Now, what does that mean? That means we have to wait on all the absentee ballots to come in, military ballots, affidavit ballots, election day, early voting. All of those come in, and then all of the first choice votes will be counted. Once all the first choice votes are counted, and if no one has a more than 50% of the first choice votes, then we will decide that we will then go into rounds. So going back to the example, if Shirley Chisholm had the 185 votes required in the first round, there would have been no need to go rounds to count any further rounds, and Shirley Chisholm could have been declared the winner right at that point. But that's not what happened. So we had to go into rounds. And if you're familiar with any of the races that took place in the Bronx and in Queens, they had to wait for absentee ballots to come in. Now, ranked choice voting does not delay this. We want to remind the public that absentee votes can be mailed up until election day, and the Board of Elections has to give them time to come in and to be counted. And sometimes that's a week or two after the election. In addition, because of the pandemic, there are now more people voting absentee. So now there are more absentee ballots that are out that they have to wait and give them a chance to be returned. And the other thing is, round by round vote totals will be released to the general public. So our first ranked choice voting special election that took place in the Queens 31st Council District, on the Board of Elections website, vote.nyc, they released each round of counting, not the same way that you saw it just now in the mock election, but it showed the count each round that candidates received. So why should you use your rankings? So this is an opportunity for you to have more options, more choices. You can like multiple candidates and you can have your favorite candidate. You also will have more power in the election. Now I'm saying that because let's say, for instance, someone voted for Mary J. Blige. Let's say I voted for Mary J. Blige, but she only got 4 votes and was eliminated in the first round. If I didn't rank anyone else, that means my vote would have nowhere to go and it would have been exhausted. So this is why it's important now that we have the option to rank, that we do rank so that we still have a say in who is elected. The other thing is you can vote your conscience without worrying about wasting your vote. And we all have been in that situation where we have a friend or a family member running, and for whatever reason that we may not think they have a shot, or they may be an underdog candidate, we can give them our first choice vote. We can say, you know what, I'm going to give them my vote. And then you can also select someone else, second, third, fourth, or fifth. The other thing to remember is that ranking never hurts your favorite candidate. That is something very important to remember. And I'm going to explain more about that a little bit later. So here are some frequently asked questions. How many candidates do I rank? So you can rank up to 5, or you can still vote for one candidate if you like. So you can rank 2, 3, or 4 as well. You don't have to rank 5, but you can rank up to 5. Do I have to use all 5 rankings? No, you do not. Your vote is still going to count if you only rank one candidate. If you still go in and you say, I'm just going to vote for one person for each office, you absolutely have the option to do that. But I just want to remind you that your vote can only have the power it has in the rankings if you rank other candidates. And just to remind you, if your favorite candidate for some reason is eliminated, where does your vote go if you did not rank? How would you be involved in all of the other rounds of counting if you didn't rank any candidates? Because what you want to remember is that with ranked choice voting, the votes are only redistributed based on how you voted. It's not a random, it just is redistributed. It's based on how the voter ranked on the ballot. Can I rank a candidate more than once? So it does not help your candidate to rank them more than once, because one of the things you want to remember, and this next piece is important, that it's connected. Does it hurt my favorite candidate to have a second choice? So I answer these two together often because your vote only moves to your next candidate if your choice is eliminated. So for instance, let's just think about the mock election again. If Shirley Chisholm was your first choice candidate, Shirley Chisholm was your favorite candidate, you voted for her, we see that Shirley Chisholm won the election. What you also want to know is that if you had a second, third, fourth, or fifth choice, your vote never left Shirley Chisholm because Shirley Chisholm stayed in the race. In addition, if you rank a candidate multiple times, your ballot could possibly be refused in error. In addition, by the machine, we're still waiting on clarification from the Board of Elections on that. But if you rank your candidate more than once, it also could be looked at. If you do it by mail, absentee, it will be considered that candidate is your first choice. There's no such thing as, like bullet voting, or, having your candidate receive like a super vote or 5 votes. You still only have 1 vote. But what you want to remember is that your vote stays with your first choice candidate until they are eliminated from the race. So as long as your candidate stays in the race, your vote stays with that person. So it doesn't hurt to have a second, third, fourth, or fifth candidate, because your vote only moves if your other candidate is eliminated. So just some key things to remember. Ranked choice voting is in effect right now in New York City. You get to rank up to 5 candidates, but you can still vote for one if you choose. It is for the offices of mayor, public advocate, comptroller, borough president, and city council. It is also in effect for primary and special elections only. It will not be used in the November general election And as a voter, you can still vote for one candidate if you so choose. But by ranking voters, you don't have to worry about wasting a vote, accidentally helping another candidate. You don't have to worry about splitting the vote if you know multiple people in the race. And last but not least, you don't have to be worried about someone being elected without less than a majority of the district supporting that candidate. So the person that's elected now is the consensus candidate of the people in the district. And here's my contact information, which I will drop in the chat as well. And that concludes the presentation. And now I will take questions.
Okay, so Nicole, we had two questions. First one is from Ms. Jeanette Wells. Her question in the chat is, the last place person votes are redistributed. How many votes to all the rest? Mary J. Blige had 4 votes. Where did those 4 votes go?
So that's a great question. So I'll just to give you the general answer once again, the 4 votes went to whoever those 4 voters selected as their second choice candidate. But let me share my screen again. Let me just go to that. Let me go to the race here. Let me go here. Let me start. Okay. And I'll share my screen so we have the visual. Okay, so let's watch. So we can see. So the 4 people who voted for Mary J. Blige, let's see who received those votes. Did anybody see who went up? Round 1. So Shirley Chisholm received one of those votes. Cardi B received one of those votes. And Madam C.J. Walker received 2 of those votes. Now I was able to tell just by, eyeballing it. But as I stated earlier, the Board of Elections is going to show round by round vote total. So people, will be able to kind of do the math on their own. And I'll just go to the next round once again so you can see. So how I was able to tell is Shirley Chisholm has 132, Madam CJ Walker has 17, and I think Cardi B has 15. And so now in the second round, Cardi B has 16, Madam CJ Walker went up to 19, and Shirley Chisholm went up to 133. So that's how I was able to visually, just eyeball it and see, okay, where did those 4 votes go? And then what that means is that the 4 people who voted for Mary J. Blige, one person picked Shirley Chisholm as their second choice, 2 people picked Madam C.J. Walker as their second choice, and 1 person selected Cardi B as their second choice. So the vote literally moves based on how the voter selected and who they picked on their ballot as their particular second choice.
Okay. Okay, so now our second question is from Ms. Grace Clark. What happens if I accidentally select 2 people for one of the choices? For instance, if I can't see the bubbles well and choose one and candidate, or choose one can't for the first and the third, does my whole ballot get thrown out or ignored?
So that's a great question. So for instance, if you pick someone as your first choice and then you mistakenly skip your second choice and pick another person as your third, when your ballot is run through, and even absentee, your third choice is going to be moved up as your second choice. So that's what's going to happen. So your vote is going to stay with your first choice candidate as long as your first choice candidate stays in the race. If your first choice candidate is eliminated for any reason, then your vote will go to your third choice candidate because you left the second choice space blank.
And Jeanette thanks you for making, she said, thank you, it makes sense to me now.
You're welcome.
Cool.
Are there any other questions? So I'm assuming everybody gets it, and now they're ready to go and tell their family and friends about ranked choice voting.
Do
Oh, I
we
see.
need,
Hi, Maria. How are you? I see Maria's hand is up.
oh,
Yeah.
okay, cool.
Can I
Okay,
add?
Maria.
So this is confusing. Okay. So everybody that picked Mary J. Blige as their first choice,
Mhm.
all of those people's votes go to whoever the second and third and the fourth choice. It doesn't automatically go to the four top people.
No, it goes based on how the voter voted.
Okay. Okay.
So that's correct. And that's a great question. And that's why I want to be very clear. It is how you vote. So however those four people who voted for Mary J. Blige, it doesn't automatically go to the four top choices. If you notice, one of them went to, I think one of them went to Cardi B, who was maybe, not far away from Mary J. Blige in terms of the score. So it doesn't automatically go to the top four. It goes based on how many, it's based on who the individual voters picked as their next choice. Any other questions? Okay. Well, as I was saying, I hope everybody, is ready and they can explain it, because what we really we really need help. We want to make sure that voters in New York City are informed, about this new process. So please tell your family and friends. I put my contact information in the chat as well. Oh, wait, I think there's
Okay.
a question.
Yeah, we do have a question from Miss Valerie Acom.
Yes.
She says, good evening.
Mhm.
Does a write-in have to be your first choice?
No, your write-in does not have to be your first choice. If there are other candidates on the ballot who you like, maybe your write-in might be your third choice. But you always want to remember, you put in your write-in candidate. So let's say your write-in candidate, for instance, is your third choice. Then you would write in the name, and then in the third choice column, you would shade in the oval that corresponds to the write-in vote. So that's really the key. It's always whoever your selection is, making sure that you shade in the oval that corresponds to their name in the correct column. You're welcome.
She says, thank you.
And I see your
Mr.
hand up also.
Oh, where? I didn't,
It says whoever's under the chapter, I think she has her hand up.
Grace, do you see that? Because I don't see it.
Oh, the hand is down. Okay. Mhm.
Okay. So I have Mr. Derek Singleton. He's asking, what are the pros and cons of this method?
Well, to be honest with you, I think there's 17 cities and maybe 3 or 4 states that are using it. This is really our first time using it in New York City. So I honestly can't say there are any cons yet, because we haven't really, fully tested it out. So this is our first go at ranked choice voting. We've had some, elections already. We're still waiting for the results for the Bronx elections, but our first real, test is going to be the primary this year. So I don't really, any cons. I would say the pro is actually providing, more options and selections in races where there are a multitude of candidates. So for instance, I live in a district where there are more than 10 candidates running for city council. And I probably know 6 or 7, but I can only rank 5. But this also gives me an opportunity to rank, and select the multiple people that I know who are running. The other thing that is, can be seen as a pro is that now the winner needs a majority of the votes from the district. So you have someone who is winning with more than 50% of the votes in a particular community.
So we have another question. Derek says, thank you.
You're welcome.
It says, what happens if I accidentally choose two candidates for the first and fourth choice? And by the way, great job, Mrs. Yearwood. Very thorough. I get it now.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. So there could be an issue where the Board of Elections, it might return your ballot will probably be returned to you. So the machine may not take it. So that would be something that would be considered an error. But I will get clarification on that to make sure that that is the correct answer for you. But I do believe that that would be considered an error. And you'll be, and anytime you make a mistake on your ballot, you have 2 other opportunities to fix it. So you are entitled to receive 3 ballots when you vote in person. You know, so if you do something wrong on one, you know, you'll go, it'll, you know, the machine will take it, it'll probably, you know, return it. You'll be able to go back to the table, receive another ballot 2 more times. So you have up to 3 ballots.
Oh, that's good to know.
Mm-hmm.
Another question from Ms. Jeanette Wells. Will this be used for the presidential election?
So as of right now, it will not be used for the presidential election. This was really a change to our New York City charter. And so what that means is, and that's also why it's only city council, borough president, comptroller, public advocate, and mayor, because the change is only in New York City. And the change was voted on by us, New York City voters, for our city charter. And so it's only our local elections.
Are there any more questions? Well, Nicole, I want to thank you for just being amazing, as I knew you would. Thank you so much. I know that I have a better understanding of the ranked choice voting process now. Thank you. So I'll be able to share the information. And again, this session was recorded, and we will be able to use this as a reference at a later date. If you would like a copy, please shoot us an email. We have Ms. Shante Lorick that said that this was very informative. Thank you. Again, I would like to thank our community partners, Brand Elevation, Can't Be Silenced, Beyond the Vote, and Miss BAP Inc. And of course, my sorority, Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated, and our frat brothers, Phi Beta Sigma Epsilon chapter. And of course, Nicole, my D9 sister from Delta. Thank you very much. And is there anything that you would like to add before we close?
I will only add that I'm available to, you know, conduct these presentations for other organizations. I did put my information in the chat. I will drop it there again. And I just would like to, you know, thank you all for hosting this event. And please share the information. Don't hesitate to contact us if you have any questions. And, you know, I can come back again as well. And if I receive any new information, I will make sure to share that and make sure that you all are informed as well. But thank you so much for hosting this event and helping us inform the community about the process.
Yes, thank you so
Please
much.
tell your family and friends, and your network that it's ranked choice voting is here.
Yes, one more thing, I cannot forget to say thank you to our president, Ms. Joanne Yard, and I hope that she has a few words to say to us this evening for giving me this opportunity to put this event together. President.
Hi, good evening. Sorry that I can't get on camera. I'm here multitasking. But Nicole, thank you so much for sharing this valuable information with us. I didn't understand it, and luckily I got in a little late, but now I understand what it is, and we tend to just vote for one candidate, but now I can vote for multiple candidates based on my choice, and I appreciate this, and I hope that, that you'll come back at a later date closer to the general election so that we can inform our friends, family, and constituents about what ranked choice voting is, and they'll be educated when they go to the polls. So thank you so much. Thank you to Shauna for doing this. I really appreciate it. So everyone have a good night.
Okay. Thank you. Cool.
Thank you.
All righty then. That's it. I guess that's it. Not unless our friend, Sister Maria Davis has a few closing words. I don't think it's complete without Maria Davis having something to say.
I'm trying to process it all, but we, as our community, we have to really get out here and share this information and let's do another one with Nicole again. Maybe we can schedule it for the second week in April so we can really get more people on, because I work the polls, I work early voting, and it's very discouraging when people are coming to me asking me who to vote for. And I'm like, you should be going in these booths and be informed about the candidates. To me, that's being a lazy voter and you're wasting your vote. You should know your candidates that are running. And this is a very, very full election this year with a lot of candidates running for all of the open seats. And so the more we can get out and we can inform people, the better opportunity our politicians will look like the community that they should serve, not our politicians holding on seats because of the old anarchy. We have to change that because nothing is being changed in our community, and only we could change that. We have to stop the old politicians. That's great. The ones that's connected to the old ones, that's great, but it's time for them to go because our issues in our community are not being met. So we have to really put our foot to the forefront and on the ground and get this information out to everyone that we know. So that is my ending words. Thank you, Nicole. Excellent, excellent, excellent job. And
You're
to all our partners.
Thank you.
Cool.
I could definitely come back, so no
Yeah.
problem.
Thank you. Well, I think that's it, ladies and gentlemen. And I appreciate you, Nicole. I appreciate my chapter president, everyone. I just thank you. And we have to work together and we have to, just educate each other. Like you said, we reach one, we reach them all. So one by one, we'll get it done. Cool. Good night.